Went online to book a glamour model. Ended up booking a hitman. I asked how much for one time. The other replied, big job or small job? I humbly asked for clarification. What's a big job and what's a small job? It's my first time. I don't have much experience. The other replied, small job. All talk. No hands. Just make the point. Big job. The real deal, full service, done in one go. I suddenly understood, immediately replied, big job. Of course, the big job. The other asked again, how many people? Huh? Wait, she can even accept group play? I hesitated for a while, then finally gave my name. I said, you just won, can I get a discount? Chapter 1. The 10th day after the breakup. It was once again that weekly time when my body ached with unbearable hunger. I tossed and turned, unable to sleep in the middle of the night. I had no choice but to browse some foreign websites, looking for something to help me drift off. Clicking around, suddenly a photo full of explosive allure slipped beneath my fingertip. In my view, a woman wore a seductive black mask, her voluptuous chest about to burst from a tight leather outfit. The only skin revealed was a pair of delicate, jade-like hands gripping a weapon, slender and white as lily buds. The oversized weapon in those hands created such a striking contrast. I couldn't help but imagine the way her long fingers would squeeze the trigger. If only what lay beneath her fingertips wasn't the trigger, but instead, I instinctively covered my tingling nose. A goddess, truly a masked bust-a-mature queen. I quickly clicked into the blogger's profile, eager to see more, but most of the account's content was locked away, requiring a paid subscription to unlock the chat. The comments below were all anonymous 5-star reviews. Some, worth every penny, great service, very professional. And someone else, clean, efficient, no worries afterward. I pondered for a second, then understood. This must be OnlyFans. Counting on my fingers to calculate the exchange rate, I couldn't help but draw in a sharp hiss through my teeth. The price wasn't low. This glamour model was really expensive. Normally, I would just admire for a while and move on. But lately, I've been furious for my cheating ex-girlfriend, desperately needing something good to comfort myself. And I had figured it out before. Whenever I spent money on my ex, she only complained this or that. But now if I spend it on myself for pure enjoyment, why not? Isn't that even better? Money can always be earned again, but I'll never get another chance in the prime of my 20s to enjoy a masked, bust-a-mature queen while being single. I immediately topped up the highest subscription tier. Sure enough, she soon sent me a private message. What service do you want? Her words matched her style, aloof and noble. I could almost imagine her distant expression, casting me a glance as cold as winter frost. Clutching my pounding heart, I mustered up the courage to ask, how much for one time? She replied instantly, big job or small job? Completely dumbfounded, I awkwardly typed, what's a big job and what's a small job? It's my first time. I don't have much experience. She answered, small job. All talk. No hands. Just make the point. Big job. The real deal, full service, done in one go. All talk. Just use the mouth. Stopping short. No way. I immediately said, big job. Of course, the big job. She quickly, how many people? She even accepts group events? For a moment, I was shocked by the wide range of her services. Alas, with the economy down, making money isn't easy for anyone. Even rich clients aren't simple to deal with. After a brief sigh, I typed, just one person. Then after thinking it over, I added, can I get a discount? The other side went silent for a moment, as if my question caught her off guard. After a pause, she finally sent back a few bold, no bargaining. So I see, clearly business must be good. Perhaps realizing her tone was a bit too stiff, she soon followed up with another. Any special requests? Oh wow, such attentive service. This is what you get when you spend big. It made my heart race with excitement. My face burned red, my mind galloping like a wild horse, replaying every erotic comic and video I had ever seen. It took me a long while before I hesitantly typed, anything is possible? Once again, she sank into silence, this time even longer than before. At last, she sent back a concise, extra charge. My heart, which had been pounding with excitement, suddenly dropped dead. Instantly, I calmed down, typing, oh, then never mind. After that, she asked me to provide the target's personal information. Following her instructions, I sent my name, birthday, and photo. Then taking the chance, I asked, "What's your name?" Her response was, "No need to know. Once the payment is complete, we won't be in contact again." So this was the legendary cold money transaction relationship. The adult world really is different. I said, "There has to be a way to address you as stage name?" She seemed to consider it, paused while typing, and then finally replied slowly, "Code name Young Phoenix." Chapter 2. On the agreed date, I rushed excitedly to the appointed place. At the cafe, I couldn't hold back my anxiety, checking the clock over and over again. But no matter how long I waited, she didn't show up. As the agreed time passed, and still no sign of her, my heart felt like a beach at low tide, gradually drying up, empty and barren. Could it be she bailed on me? Before leaving in disappointment, I made one last desperate attempt, craning my neck to look toward the entrance. Inside the cafe, at the door, still no one. Outside, the street was almost deserted. Unwilling to give up, I let my eyes wander again and again until they fell upon a tall figure beneath the shade of the trees across the road. Suddenly my eyes lit up. The woman's figure was curvaceous, her fullness straining the buttons of her shirt almost to the breaking point. Yet the very top button was buttoned tight. A pair of dark sunglasses and a mask concealed her face, her skin covered completely. Normally, without seeing her face, one couldn't recognize her. But am I just anyone? I'm the kind of dedicated fan who can jump through 4 links, climb across 3 platforms, and register 2 new emails just to get a taste of spicy content. The eyes of a true reader are sharp. Damn it, those hands alone were enough. I knew this was my goddess. I hurried over. Up close, her curves were nearly perfect. Full bust, narrow waist, long legs. She carried a stuffed bag slung over her shoulder. Who knew what was inside? That chest, those legs, that figure. My heart was drooling all over, and much of the frustration from waiting so long evaporated. Maybe she just got the location wrong. I patted her on the shoulder and back, saying, "Why are you standing here? Why don't you come over?" The so-called glamour model froze at my touch for a split second. She looked blank, then quickly grew wary, taking a step back and studying me coldly. She frowned and said, "You've got the wrong person." I couldn't help scratching my head. Even her voice was beautiful, like the low strings of a guzheng, each pluck stirring an itch in the heart. Pity it was so icy. I tried again, explaining, "No mistake. I've been waiting for you for so long. Since you didn't come find me, I had to come find you." She stayed silent for a few breaths, her tone still cold as she said, "I don't understand what you're talking about." I panicked, gritting my teeth. I enunciated each word. "How could you be like this? You took the money, didn't you? Backing out now? Too late." The woman went quiet, her chest rising and falling once, as if she exhaled a long breath. As if giving in, she removed her sunglasses and mask, revealing a stunningly cold and beautiful face. One hand slipped into her bag as she stepped closer. Her long, narrow eyes glanced at me, as if evaluating my intent. She narrowed them, and, "Since you already know, what do you plan to do?" Such a breathtaking beauty, so close. I immediately forgot my anger. My eyes drifted and I swallowed hard, saying, booked a hotel. Why don't we go inside and talk?" I coughed lightly, gesturing at the surroundings. "There are too many people on the street, not suitable for business." She didn't move for a while. Afraid she'd misunderstand, I quickly waved my hands, explaining, "Don't worry, I don't actually mean to do anything to you. I just wanted to meet and talk. Anything else, only if you want to." Suddenly the woman stepped forward, grabbed my collar, and forced me to lean down toward her. In that instant, every hair on my body stood on end, as if a blade were pressed to my throat. I instinctively held my breath. Seeing my reaction, the corners of her lips curved into the briefest smile. In a flash, the icy surface cracked, revealing deep waters below, dangerous yet alluring. Her voice, mature and calm, yet still sultry, slipped into my ear, "I'm not worried. On the contrary, it's you who should be worried about what I might do to you." With that, she turned and walked toward the hotel, leaving me frozen in place. After a long moment, I let out an, "Oh, whoa," and scratched at my burning cheeks. Just now, did she just flirt back at me? So this is the skill level of a professional glamour model? Terrifying. Chapter 3. On the big hotel bed, young Phoenix and I sat side by side in silence. To break the awkward atmosphere, I had to come up with some random topic. I asked, "Why did you get into this line of work?" She answered, "I can't do anything else." Immediately, I pictured the classic tragic, a poor girl dropping out of school and forced down the path of nightlife jobs. I tried to comfort her politely. I said, "Doing this isn't bad either. The profession has a long history. You don't need to feel ashamed." Young Phoenix didn't seem to like talking about her profession. She frowned and asked, "Let's talk business. What do you want to do?" Straight to the point. Isn't that a bit fast?" Blushing, I rubbed my hands nervously and said, "Oh, okay. What can we do? Can we bang bang bang?" Her brows furrowed deeper. She gave a cold snort and said, "I banged you?" Does she mean she's the one doing the action?" Confused, I asked, "Isn't it me who bangs you?" She snapped, "No way." I was speechless. I said, "Then maybe we can start small? Fire a shot to warm up." She replied, "No way." I was dumbfounded. "Then touching a little?" She said, still no. I sighed. "At least let me touch your chest then." She firmly declared, "Of course not." Her sudden rise in volume startled me. I stared blankly at the woman who had scooted a step away. The tips of her ears flushed red. Why so worked up? The things I asked earlier were way more excessive. Maybe touching her chest was her sensitive trigger point. Thinking it over, I simply asked directly, "So you sell your skills, not your body?" She thought for a moment, then nodded. "Correct. A virtuous woman, steadfast and pure. Looks like tonight I'll just be chatting under the covers." "Bored?" I yawned. "Fine then, I'll take a shower. Do as you please." She didn't move a muscle, as if unconcerned. But when I came out of the bathroom, I saw a young Phoenix sitting at the head of the bed, scrolling through my phone. Fury ignited. "Hey, don't you have any professional ethics?" I rushed forward to snatch it back, but to my shock, she was astonishingly agile, dodging left and right. She easily evaded me no matter how desperately I lunged. Panting and exhausted, I couldn't take the phone from her. Driven into a corner, I finally threw myself at her, accidentally almost burying my face into her soft, ample chest. Young Phoenix pressed her lips tightly together. The next second, she twisted her waist and flipped, using her strength to pin my wrists. Her movements were sharp and precise. Her voice carried a faint tremor, hazy yet firm. She quivered as she asked, "You're my client?" I froze for a moment, then suddenly understood. Just now, she must have been looking at our chat history. Could it be she thought someone else had ordered the glamour model for me? Or maybe she saw my shabby clothes and assumed I couldn't afford her. Grinding my teeth, I retorted, "Yeah, I am. Problem with that?" Young Phoenix frowned, her gaze lingering on me with a mix of reproach and disappointment, like I was someone not living up to expectations. She scolded me softly. "So young, why are you throwing your life away like this?" Her lecture left me stunned. When I came back to my senses, anger welled up again. So what if I'm young? Why is she meddling so much? Who was she to lecture me about life? Chapter 4. She said coldly, "I won't take this job." The woman tossed out those words and got up to leave. I stared blankly as she turned and walked out. Now I finally understood. This industry doesn't serve the poor. Even glamour models wear tinted glasses of prejudice. This was outrageous. I was going to write a 500-word negative review about her. Fuming, I jumped up from the bed, throwing on my clothes. I stormed after her and shouted down the hall, "If you won't do it, plenty of others will. I'll go buy someone better right after this. I'll buy 10. The figure ahead of me suddenly froze. She turned back, her expression complicated. "You mean, if I refuse, you just go buy someone else?" She walked back to stand in front of me. Her tone was nearly heartbroken. She bit her lip and said, "Can't you think of something better? Give up on such thoughts. Must you really insist? I'm not a monk. Why shouldn't I have worldly desires?" I was just about to argue with her when suddenly from behind me came a signingly familiar voice. Someone called out with a run, "What are you doing here?" Annoyed, I turned around. Sure enough, I saw the pretty but utterly detestable face of my ex-girlfriend, Lena. She was loosely dressed in a black silk slip dress. A trail of hickey stretched from her neck down to her collarbone. Who knew whose bed she had just gotten out of? Not long ago, I discovered she often went looking for casual hookups. I even caught her red-handed in bed. Back then, Lena had casually put on her shirt, leaned against the hotel headboard, and lit up a slender cigarette. Elegantly, she blew smoke right into my furious face. With a cold snort, she had said, "I don't see what I did wrong. Yes, I cheated, I won't deny it. But if you had treated me well enough, would things have ended up this way?" Seeing me silent, she had leaned closer, almost coy, and said, "Ren, don't blame yourself too much. Since we both made mistakes, let's just change together, okay?" It was like icy snow melt pouring over the lava of my rage. At that moment, I suddenly went calm. Lena may have worn a human face like mine, but the difference in values between us was wider than between men and dog. And there's no point reasoning with a dog. I yanked my hand away, and with a sharp crack, slapped her across the face. I snapped, "Change? Change your damn self." As I left, I caught sight of her stunned, frozen in place. Her cigarette slipped to the carpet, burning tiny, irreparable black marks. I closed my eyes, forcing down the ugly memories rising in my mind. But on the opposite side, the barking dog wouldn't stop. Lena looked me up and down, tilting her head in amusement. "What did you come here to check up on me? You only just said you wanted to break up, and now you regret it so soon." She smiled faintly and said, "Playing hard to get, are you? Fine, I'll forgive you this time. Oh God, if I were guilty, the law would punish me, not send this plague of a woman to torment me." I felt so nauseated I wanted to vomit. Then a thought struck me. Why should I be the only one suffering? Glancing around, I suddenly pulled young Phoenix close from beside me. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders intimately and said with a smile, "Careful with your words. My girlfriend might get upset if she hears that." Lena was incredibly arrogant. She believed that someone who once pined for her after being dumped would take ages to find someone new. To someone like her, this was nothing less than another slap to the face. As expected, Lena's expression stiffened. But moments later, a malicious smile crept onto her lips. She rolled her eyes at young Phoenix and sneered. "Oh, really? Then you must be desperate. After all, you're recycling trash that even I couldn't bother with." She sighed theatrically and said, "Girl, let me give you some advice. Don't get lovesick over him. He's a broke loser who can't even afford an iPhone. On holidays, all he does is send money transfers. He can't give you any emotional value. I was just too stupid back then, sticking around to suffer with him." My blood boiled with rage, but before I could explode, a hand tugged at my arm. Young Phoenix stepped forward, casting a cold glance at Lena. With a short, mocking laugh, she said, "Are you insulting yourself? She on holidays, what did you give him? What emotional value did you provide? Nothing. Silent. Then aren't you worse than him? You said you suffered with him, but doesn't that just mean you had nothing either? Otherwise, why would you have suffered? If that's the case, with or without him, you'd still be suffering, so what right do you have to blame him? Society trains men to give more in relationships, so people assume men earn money only to spend it on women, that men should transfer money on every holiday, buy gifts, create surprises, create romance, as if a man's entire life exists just to make a woman's life happier. And if a woman feels unhappy, it's naturally the man's fault. Lena clearly never expected this, that another woman, young Phoenix, would step outside the unspoken rules and instead turn the standards used to judge men back onto her. She was struck dumb, gaping for a long time. Finally, unable to maintain her composure, anger filled her eyes. She bit her lip and stammered, You. Young Phoenix interrupted her. "Want to fight?" She cut Lena off and stepped forward firmly. I was about to say something, but then remembered how she had pinned me down earlier. Tall and commanding, she stood proudly, making Lena's petite frame seem even smaller. Lena glared at her darkly. After a long pause, her gaze slid past young Phoenix and fixed on me. The hatred in her eyes felt like it could skin me alive. She bit her lip and said coldly, "Fine, I'll remember this." Chapter 5. After Lena left, I awkwardly thanked young Phoenix. I said, "I'll pay you extra." Though our outlooks were different, she seemed like a good person. Young Phoenix didn't respond immediately. She studied me for a moment, hesitation in her eyes. And then, "Did you hire me because of a breakup?" She saw through me. I shifted uncomfortably, nodding. "Yeah, sort of." Young Phoenix let out a deep sigh. Her gaze softened, carrying a faint trace of sympathy. She said, "She's not worth it. Treasure yourself. Live well. You only have one life. I'll refund your money. Don't ever do this again, all right? I was a little stunned. I'd heard of buyers persuading sellers to quit, but never the other way around. What a virtuous and upright woman. Still, she had just helped me. Her advice seemed well-intentioned. I tried to read her expression, but after 1 second my eyes accidentally drifted downward. Alas, it was all her fault for being so abundant. Her chest blocked my view, leaving nothing else in sight. I said, I'll think about it, but can I still reach out to you again? Then, remembering her rules, I quickly added, nothing else, just for chatting. Young Phoenix nodded seriously. If you need me, reach out anytime. She extended her hand, and we shook. She said, let's start over. My name is Anya. From that day on, Anya and I became ordinary online friends. She sent me good morning, good afternoon, and good night every day. She shared beautiful snippets of daily life, a brilliant sunset, scarlet autumn leaves, a stray kitten by the street. But for some reason, whenever I went quiet for too long, she turned into a Yandere girlfriend. She checked in. Why haven't you replied for an hour? Where did you go? What are you doing? Answer me. God, she really made me want to cry. She used every possible tactic just to stop me from booking another glamour model. Until one late night, I finally couldn't hold back and had an honest talk with her. I said, I think people should be free to make their own choices. Why do you always stop me? After a long while, Anya sent me a string of long messages. When I looked closely, all I saw was garbled censorship marks. The messages. My mom left me when I was very young. So my father was like you. He also wanted X. After my mom left him, he couldn't suppress his urge for X. In the end, he abandoned me and went to XXXXXX. Later, I learned that an excessive desire for XX is a mental illness. Whatever you're feeling, you can always tell me. Don't be ashamed, you're just sick. Damn these trashy SNS platforms. Their filters are even stricter than forum posts. Luckily, I had years of experience reading certain web novel platforms overflowing with XX. Even without knowing the exact words, if they were censored, then assuming the most sexual meaning was always a safe bet. After a moment of thought, I quickly guessed the gist. She seemed to think I was a sex addict. She even cited her father's example to warn me not to indulge in desires. But wait, her father already booked glamour models back in his day. Wasn't it stricter back then? To make sure I understood correctly, I replied with the same censored words, deliberately. So the conversation ended up looking like this. Actually, I don't always want XX. It's just that sometimes I can't help trying XXXX. Don't worry, I won't go XX behind your back. If I need it, I'll tell you first. Perfect. I scored full marks on the fill-in-the-blank test. Moments later, her reply popped up. I understand what you mean, but from now on let's follow the platform rules, all right? Fair enough. If we overused censored words, we might get muted or banned. That would be a disaster. I wholeheartedly agreed. You're right. From now on, let's just use that as a code word for the censored terms. And so we reached an agreement. I set down my phone with satisfaction and drifted peacefully to sleep. What a refreshing, soul-stirring exchange. Anya and I were truly in sync. Chapter 6. After that late-night censored heart-to-heart talk, my relationship with Anya advanced by leaps and bounds. Maybe because we had already confessed our inner thoughts. During her daily check-ins, she no longer tried to be subtle. Anya asked, how are you feeling today? Do you want that? Blunt words, but not untrue. Still way too blunt. I hesitated for a long time before replying nervously. I'm okay. She didn't seem to notice my embarrassment at all. Anya messaged, if you want it, you must tell me. I'll come find you immediately. I asked, and what would you do if you came? Just chat. The input box flickered for a long while. She must have been thinking it over. Finally, she sent, is there anything you want to do besides that? I pondered a second and replied, let me touch your chest, or your thighs at least. Anya replied, if I let you touch, will it make you give up the idea of that? I answered, not sure, maybe it would ease things a little. She suddenly went silent. Looks like she wasn't willing to let me touch. Disappointed, I shut off my phone. 10 minutes later, the screen lit up. Anya had sent a very refreshing picture. She said, touching isn't appropriate, but can you look instead? Does it cheer you up a little? Oh, it did more than cheer me up. A surprise busted goddess. I replied, I'm starving. Anya said, no, That's not good. I answered, it's my last wish before closing my eyes to sleep. Anya said, what if I send you more to look at instead? Chest shot, thigh shot, ABS shot. I got the full set today. I asked, aren't you missing one? Anya said, no, I don't think so. I replied, thighs have upper, middle, and lower sections. You gave me lower and middle. Where's the last one? Maybe I had teased her too much because this time she responded quickly, no way. I spammed 10 pitiful emojis in a row. She still didn't budge. Anya said, if you have the energy to joke around with me, it looks like you're fine now. Me joking? I'm the most serious person alive. Rolling up my sleeves, I prepared to keep pushing, determined to prove my desire to see it. Anya said, all right, behave. There's always tomorrow. I immediately typed, on my knees, okay, I'm always the most obedient. Then I added, can I see a photo of you wearing a bell collar with a chain attached in the middle? Anya replied, depends on how you behave. This girl had learned on her own how to hold leverage over me. Ha, child's play. When faced with wicked temptation, of course I chose to say yes. More. Chapter 7. From then on, it was as if Anya had unlocked a new switch. Every day, she found new ways to send me all kinds of sultry photos. At first, her technique wasn't great. Her body did all the work, but under my constant coaching, her photography skills improved by leaps and bounds. Soon, she could infer from a hint, draw lessons from one example, and innovate. Before long, she no longer needed my specific guidance. The photos she sent were more and more irresistible, enough to make my blood boil. 2 months later, her skill rivaled the top borderline streamers on TikTok. The rarest thing was, every photo hit my preferences with pinpoint accuracy, almost as if she was deliberately trying to please me. Even I, dense as I was, couldn't help but sense a different meaning. Was Anya interested in me? But considering her profession, maybe it was just business flirting as part of the job. What exactly did it mean? I racked my brain, but couldn't figure it out. So when I met up with my buddy Alex, I tentatively asked him, if there's a glamour model who chats with you every day, sends you lots of photos, and not only refuses to take your money, but even tells you not to spend money on others, what would you think it means? Alex didn't hesitate. That's a romance scam. Unconvinced, I pulled out my phone. But her boobs are really huge. After examining the photos, Alex's attitude shifted instantly. He waved his hand decisively. You should have said so earlier. If you're getting to play, you're already profiting. After thinking for a bit, he added, just don't get into feelings. Love stuff is always the biggest hassle. Seeing me hesitate, he immediately scolded me. Did you already forget? After your last breakup, you bawled over the shameless cheater and dragged me out drinking for 3 days straight. I scratched my head guiltily. Feelings are like spilled water. Once poured out, they can't be reclaimed. Even if a breakup is decisive, the hollow scar left behind still needs time to heal. What if it happened again? Remembering that miserable experience, I shivered instinctively. Quickly shaking my head, I said, no love, no love. I'll just mess around. Alex nodded in satisfaction, finally letting me off the hook. When leaving the restaurant, I suddenly stopped and glanced back. Just now, it seemed I'd caught a glimpse of a familiar figure, but when I looked again, all I saw was the crowded flow of strangers. This restaurant was where Alex and I regularly met up. Plenty of acquaintances knew about it. Coincidence or intentional? Alex asked, what's wrong? I thought for a moment, then waved my hand dismissively. Nothing. Chapter 8. Once I'd figured out my true intentions, I didn't hesitate anymore. That very night, I messaged Anya. I wrote, I want to see you. Anya replied, you want that again? I said, something like that. She paused for half a minute, then suddenly sent a flood of, send me your address. I'm coming right now. Don't move. Don't go anywhere. Don't do anything. Wait 15 minutes. You must wait for me. Promise me you won't do anything stupid, okay? Why was she still so nervous? I'd already promised her I wouldn't hire another glamour model. I quickly replied, okay, I'll wait for you. 12 minutes later, a woman knocked on my door, panting. She was dressed in a black, off-shoulder, tight dress, an overcoat hanging on her arm. Her chest rose and fell as she caught her breath, the fullness glowing under the light with a deadly allure. As she steadied her breathing, she explained, the last few traffic lights were jammed. I ran over here. The moment she entered, She anxiously looked me up and down. You're okay, right? You didn't do anything, did you? I reassured her again and again. Still, Anya leaned in close, her gaze roaming carefully over my skin. She studied me for a long time. At last, she seemed relieved, letting out a long breath. Her chest heaved once, then she reached out and pulled me tightly into her arms. In that instant, I felt two soft, springy mounds pressed firmly against me. I collapsed in 1 second, so happy I could hardly breathe. Anya's soft murmur carried through the vibration of her chest into my ear. Her voice quivered with grievance. Do you know how worried I was? My heart warmed. I cupped her face, about to kiss her, but then hesitated and asked, Can I? Anya gave a playful smile, suddenly tiptoeing to kiss me first. Then, yielding, she let me scoop her up and fall together onto the sofa. We kissed with restraint, just tasting lightly. She nestled against me, clearly wanting to have a long talk. She said, There are some things I haven't told you yet. Actually, the reason my father turned out that way was because my mother cheated on him. A cheating mother, a lonely father, a helpless daughter, and a broken family. I could listen to the wounds of your childhood home, but you know what I want to do after listening, right? I half listened, absent-mindedly responding with the occasional or aha. Finally, when she was about to move on from her parents to herself, I couldn't take it anymore. I flipped her over, pinning her down, sealing her lips with mine. What's all this rambling for? Don't you have energy to spend somewhere better? Anya sighed helplessly, looping her arms around my neck. Lying beneath me as I kissed her for a long while. Then she asked, You don't want to die anymore? I froze. When did I ever want to die? What since when? We locked eyes, both full of confusion. She asked, You don't want to commit suicide? Then why did you hire a hitman? I shot back, I hired a glamour model. I'm doomed, this cursed censorship filter. Chapter 9. Anya pressed her lips tightly together, pushing my hand away from her chest. Sit properly, behave yourself. Under my reluctant gaze, she slipped on her coat, wrapping herself up tightly. In an instant, she was back to the chaste, virtuous woman I first met. She frowned and asked, These past days, have you only been treating me like a glamour model to play with? Her beautiful face was cold as ice, her eyes sharp enough to cut me to pieces. I stammered, and no, it's not like that. Anya scrutinized me with piercing eyes. Then suddenly, without warning, she lifted the hem of her skirt. My eyeballs instantly dropped onto her smooth, fair, long legs. Anya rolled her eyes. Hey, with a knowing look, she gave a cold laugh, then tugged her skirt down firmly, covering herself completely, refusing to give me even a hint of benefit. But just now, that soft, springy sensation in my hand, I wasn't willing to let it go. I scooted closer, testing the waters by reaching out again. They say couples settle arguments in bed. Can't we solve this conflict in a simpler way? Anya actually laughed in exasperation. Fine, so am I your fiancé or your wife? Choose. I hurriedly drew my hand back. So stingy. One touch, and she's already forcing marriage. Seeing me shrink back into the sofa like a chastised quail, staying quiet, Anya pressed her palm to her forehead. Helpless, she sighed for a long time. Then she said, I understand. Because your ex cheated, your heart feels dead. Hiring a glamour model, I'll let that slide for now. But what about the future? Are you planning to never be with anyone again? She lifted her head, her eyes locked seriously on mine. The look she gave me was pure and crystal clear. She bit her lip and said, Even if you don't love me, that's okay. I just hope you won't punish yourself for someone else's mistakes. Not being a simp doesn't mean sealing your heart away. Don't give up on your ability to love and be loved. You're a good person. You deserve all the best things this world has to offer. My mind was in chaos. I turned my head aside, avoiding her gaze. For a moment, I couldn't say a word. Anya's phone kept buzzing. She waited a long time, but when no reply came from me, she finally stood up, her face full of grievance. All right, as long as you're okay, that's what matters. I have things to do, so I'll leave for now. I might be busy these days. Let's both take some time apart and think things over. Before leaving, Anya leaned close to me. Her voice was light and gentle as she said, Run. If you never give, of course you won't lose anything. But you might also miss many beautiful sights. One day you may realize that when you meet the right person, Giving is mutual. The door closed softly behind her. My eyes grew hot. I slumped into the sofa, drained. Had I disappointed Anya? Did Anya hate me now? The air was still filled with her scent. Her warmth still lingered in the fabric. This relationship hadn't even begun, yet somehow it already felt like it was ending. Chapter 10. I went back to my old life. Day after day, it was just work and home, the same routine. Occasionally, I would share little things with Anya, a funny joke, office gossip, or messy scandals overheard from the neighbors. But she really did seem busy, as she'd said. Her replies were no longer as enthusiastic as before, no more daily photos, just a few short words followed by silence. When it rains, it pours. Not long after Anya faded from my view, suspicious traces began to appear in my life. First, at work, the receptionist called me over mysteriously. "A pretty lady sent you breakfast." Inside the lunchbox was a delicate little card. On it was written, "I know you still love me." I said, "Throw it away," and I smiled at the receptionist. Then, when I came home, there was a package at my door that I hadn't ordered. When I tore open the box with my name on it, inside were sultry pieces of private lingerie. They were doused in perfume. Expressionless, I tossed it straight into the trash. Later, I received messages from an untraceable number. When I opened them, they were nude, faceless photos. One by one, I deleted them and blocked. As if anticipating my reaction, the screen lit up again. New messages appeared. "I miss you so much." "Do you miss me? Why aren't you replying?" "I've got your photos with the glamour model. Should I send them to your work group?" I stared at the screen for a long time. From initial seduction and teasing to now outright threats, the malice had grown heavy, no longer hidden. Her patience must have been running out. I thought it over, then opened my contact list and typed out a message. A few days later, in the evening, I went downstairs to take out the trash. The trees in the night cast swaying shadows in the wind. Suddenly, someone hugged me from behind. Lena's voice with a smile whispered, "Run, did you miss me?" Her head rested against my back, murmuring softly, as if we were lovers sharing intimate moments. She said, "I knew you couldn't let me go. That new girlfriend, just a lie to fool me. You drank yourself drunk and booked a glamour model because of me, and even said you'd stay lonely for the rest of your life. Run, you love me so much." I wasn't surprised. I turned around and asked, "That person following me and Alex at the restaurant that day, that was you, wasn't it? What are you trying to do?" Lena's eyes shone with hope. "Let's get back together," I said flatly. "And if I refuse?" She didn't care. "I suffered so many years with you. Either you compensate me for my wasted youth, or you pay off the 100,000 you owe in online loans." I owe. That didn't surprise me at all. Lena had always lived on reckless spending. Back then, she had me, the simp, covering her debts. After breaking up, she clearly hadn't found a replacement sucker, so she came back to me to foot the bill. I laughed. "So basically, you just want me to keep being your idiot ATM and pay off your debts?" She snorted. "If you don't agree, I'll accuse you of sexual harassment. You've got my nudes, you even have my private lingerie. Late at night, if I call the police, you're finished." I sneered. "You're framing me. Aren't you afraid they'll find out the truth?" She smirked, hugging my arm intimately. "Who would care? I'm a woman. At most, if they found out, I'd just apologize. But you, if you get labeled a harasser, your whole life is ruined. Think carefully." I asked, "And if I fight you to the end?" Lena fell silent for a while, her smile fading. Word by word, she said, "My patience is limited, Ren. Stop deliberately making me angry." With that, she suddenly ripped a tear in her skirt, then slammed herself against the railing hard. "I wouldn't mind accusing you of forcing me, either." "Fine. A wise man doesn't suffer losses before his eyes." I said, "All right, I'll take you to the bank right now." I didn't say another word, just turned and led her to the garage. Lena was very pleased with my compliance. She clung affectionately to my arm and said, "Now that's my good husband." Like a gentleman, I opened the car door for her. The moment she sat in the passenger seat, I locked the door. Lena immediately sensed something was wrong. The next second, she realized there were already 3 people sitting in the back seat. My buddy Alex, flanked by 2 burly men, had been waiting. Alex grinned. "That's her. Get her." 10 minutes later, the 2 strong men each twisted one of Lena's arms behind her back, pressing her against the hood. Alex, arrogant and furious, slapped her twice in quick succession. Smack, smack, two crisp sounds, leaving symmetrical marks on her cheeks. He sneered. You think you can frame my brother? Believe me, I can have you disappeared in no time. Yep, having a professional anti-scam, anti-extortion security team really paid off. Seeing the situation settled, I removed the button-sized camera from my shirt and waved it with a smile in front of Lena. Thanks for your testimony. This is more than enough to send you in. With that, I made a phone call. Minutes later, police cars wailed into the lot. Anya stepped out in uniform, along with other officers. They took Lena from the bodyguards. Cuff her. Take her away. Just as they were about to leave, I said, wait a second. Lena's eyes lit up, expectant. I thought for a moment, then walked to the front of the car. With a calm smile, I said, there's something important I forgot to tell you. Not only can I love again, I can love more than one. History seemed to repeat itself once more. I grabbed Anya, tilted up her chin, and kissed her hard. I said, see this? She's younger than you, prettier than you, and her body's better than yours too. The moment the words left my mouth, Lena's face turned green. Anya's face turned red. The nearby officers who'd been eavesdropping started cheering. Anya didn't know you had it in you. Anya, go enjoy your time with your men. We'll wrap things up here. Anya pursed her lips, scolding the rowdy young officers. Cut the nonsense. Get moving. Laughing, they dragged off the only person not laughing, Lena. I meanwhile introduced Anya to my buddy Alex. This is the young mod. Before I could finish the word model, Anya coughed sharply, cutting me off. Mr. Chan, hello? My actual profession is detective. Earlier, I was undercover on assignment, so I couldn't reveal my identity. I looked at her flushed cheeks. She really cared about her image. Fine, let her save face. I had bigger problems, like my buddy. I scratched my head awkwardly. After all, I told him not long ago that I was only messing around, not getting serious. And here I was, introducing a new girl to him. Sorry, bro, I muttered. Sure enough, Alex ground his teeth, furious, but the words that came out were the opposite. We're brothers. What's there to apologize for? Back then, I tried to stop you because you were too much of a simp. But now, you can send your cheating ex packing without a tremor in your hand or a flutter in your heart. What else is there to say? If this one doesn't work out, just move on to the next. He gave me a big thumbs up. That's the spirit. See one you like, date her. If it doesn't work, drop her and move on. Be a real man, not a simp. We men should soar like eagles. That's how it's done. I was deeply moved. Don't worry, brother. There are millions of women in the world, but you'll always be my true firstborn son. Chapter 11. I brought Anya back home. The whole way we were silent. At the door, she stopped, as if hesitating about something. Puzzled, I asked, why aren't you coming in? She bit her lip. Oh. After a moment of struggle, she seemed to steel herself and stepped inside. Run, I want to apologize. After last time, I've been buried in work and never got to really talk to you. It was the first time I'd seen Anya in days. She looked a little thinner. Anya took a deep breath, then slowly reached to unbutton her top. I have a gift I want to give you. The collar opened bit by bit, revealing what lay beneath. A bell collar, its chain dangling in the deep valley of her chest, just as I had once described. I almost had a nosebleed on the spot. Like a tiger pouncing, I threw her onto the bed. She shut her eyes in expectation. 2 minutes later, she opened them in confusion. That's it. Mortified, I said. I got a little too excited today, couldn't control it. Anya instantly understood. She tied her hair back, bent down, and said while working, it's fine. Lasting even a minute is impressive. I was speechless. Without a word, I regrouped, then suddenly rolled over and pressed her down again. Today, I had to prove myself with the real thing. 3 days later, I was trembling, legs shaking, and insisted on going outside. I admitted it, I was wrong. Now whenever I see the sofa, the windowsill, the table, the mirror, the carpet, I have PTSD. I can't breathe. Suddenly a light bulb went off in my head. I said, right, I still haven't gone to the station to give my statement about Lena. I'll head to the police. My newly official girlfriend didn't seem concerned. Instead, she gave me a sharp look and said seriously, since you brought up the station, there's something we need to settle properly. Confused, I asked, what is it? Anya sneered. You ordered a glamour model. According to Article 66 of the Law on Public Security Administration, you'll be detained for no less than 10 and no more than 15 days. If you do it again, I'll cuff you. She glanced around, her fingertips tapping on the crossbar at the head of the bed. She said, "This would be a good place to cuff you." 10 days? Is that even human language? I swore to the heavens on the spot. I won't order again. Absolutely never. No one follows the law more than me. Thank you. Anya finally laughed. She gently kissed the corner of my mouth and said, "MHM. Ordering me alone is enough."